At 10:50 p.m. on Thursday, April 17, 2026, the official X account of the Pima County Sheriff's Department posted an update. 2 words, a photograph, a green stamp in the corner of the image that said located. The caption read, update. Nancy has been located. Stop. Read that again. Nancy has been located. In the 76 days since Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her home on North Camino Escalante, in the Catalina foothills of Tucson, Arizona, those 4 words had existed in the minds of millions of people following this case as the 4 words they were waiting for. The 4 words that would mean the investigation had reached the moment everyone had been hoping for, dreading, preparing for, anticipating across 11 weeks of press conferences and doorbell camera footage and DNA lab reports and ransom notes and Bitcoin wallets and a sheriff facing removal proceedings and a daughter returning to work in yellow saying, ready or not. Nancy has been located. Within minutes of that post appearing on X, the screenshot was being shared on every platform that has been following this case since February. And the question that spread with it was immediate and simultaneous and felt by every single person who saw those 4 words at 10:50 p.m. on a Thursday night. Is it her? Did they find her? Is Nancy Guthrie home? She was not home. The Nancy in that post was not Nancy Guthrie. The woman who had been located was Nancy Radakovich, an 82-year-old woman from an entirely unrelated missing persons case who had been reported missing on April 16th, last seen near River Road and Campbell Avenue in Tucson, and found safe before 8 p.m. that evening. Her recovery is genuinely good news. Her family had a frightening few hours, and it ended the way every missing persons case should end. Nancy Radakovich came home. But the Pima County Sheriff's Department posted that update without a surname, without a case number, without any contextual detail that would have told the millions of people following the Guthrie investigation that this was a different Nancy, a different case, a different outcome. Just 4 words and a photograph and a green located stamp. 1 additional word. Nancy Radakovich has been located. 7 words instead of 4. The entire response, the dropped hearts, the grief, the outrage, the hours of confusion, none of it happens with 1 additional word. Today we are going to examine everything that happened in a 24-hour window that may be the most consequential 24 hours of institutional communication in this entire investigation. The social media post that sent the country into a spiral. The 24 days of official silence that preceded it. The reactive statement that followed less than 1 hour after Brian Entin broke a story the department had not disclosed. And the hair DNA development confirmed by the FBI, by NewsNation, by ABC News, and by CeCe Moore, the woman who has contributed to solving more than 300 cold cases. That represents the most significant forensic development in this investigation in weeks. This is Global Crime Files. Nancy Long Guthrie was born on January 27th, 1942. She had lived in Tucson, Arizona for more than 50 years. She raised 3 children largely on her own after her husband Charles died in 1988 at 49 years old. She attended church every Sunday by video call because her back would not allow her to get to a building on most days. She had grandchildren who adored her. She tended flower pots on her back patio. She was, in the words of the sheriff who runs the investigation into her disappearance, sharp as a tack, cognitively present, mentally clear, a woman whose Sunday morning video call to her church was so reliable, so absolutely consistent with who she was and how she lived, that when she missed it on February 1st, 2026, her family came to check on her. Her medication was on the kitchen counter. Her hearing aids were in the house. Her phone was on the nightstand. Her car was in the garage. The back doors were propped open with flower pots from the patio, and the blood was on the front porch. She has been missing for 76 days. Before we continue, if you believe every victim deserves a thorough, honest, documented investigation, and that the public has a right to understand what the evidence actually shows, subscribe to Global Crime Files and turn on your notifications. We cover one case at a time. We do not speculate beyond what the documented evidence supports. We source every claim and name every expert. Now let us get back to what happened on April 17th. To understand why those 4 words landed the way they did, you need to understand the specific weight that has accumulated around this investigation over 76 days. From the first hours, the evidence established that Nancy Guthrie did not leave her home voluntarily. The back doors propped open from the outside. The medication untouched. The hearing aids left behind. The blood on the front porch at the exit point. The doorbell camera that disconnected at 1:47 a.m. on February 1st. The pacemaker that stopped syncing with her phone at 2:28 a.m. The masked, gloved suspect captured on recovered doorbell footage, carrying a 25-liter Ozark Trail backpack sold exclusively at Walmart, a firearm holstered incorrectly at his midsection, a flashlight held in his mouth, foliage from a potted plant placed over the camera lens with deliberate precision. Every expert who has analyzed the evidence publicly has said the same thing. This was planned. This was prepared. This was someone who knew that home, knew the timing, knew the cameras, knew the routines. Someone who had been there before. The FBI released doorbell camera footage on February 10th. A family clearance statement was issued on February 16th. A task force was formally established 33 days into the investigation. Ransom notes arrived at media outlets in early February with a Bitcoin wallet address that has remained empty for 76 days. The DNA recovered from inside Nancy's home was found to be a complex mixed profile that current laboratory technology could not fully separate. The mixed profile produced no match in CODIS, the FBI's database of more than 19 million offender profiles. And then 24 days passed without a single official statement from the Pima County Sheriff's Department about the investigation itself. The last official statement before April 17th had been issued on March 24th. And that statement was not about the investigation. It was a warning to the public about fundraising scams falsely claiming to be related to the Nancy Guthrie case. 24 days of official silence, while the DNA was supposedly being analyzed, while the FBI was supposedly pursuing every available lead. 24 days without a press conference, without a public update, without a statement to the millions of people who have been watching this case and asking the same question every single day since February 1st. Into that silence, at 10:50 p.m. on April 17th, came 4 words and a photograph. Update. Nancy has been located. The person who wrote that post made a specific decision. They wrote, Nancy has been located without including a surname. They knew, or should have known, that the name Nancy in connection with the Pima County Sheriff's Department carried a weight in April 2026 that it had not carried before February 1st. They knew, or should have known, that millions of people following a high-profile missing persons investigation involving a woman named Nancy would read those 4 words and feel something immediate and physical before they read another syllable. The response confirmed exactly that. One person wrote on X, I literally thought this was Nancy Guthrie. The way my heart just dropped. Another wrote, my heart skipped a beat, thinking it was Nancy Guthrie. A third, OMG. At first I saw Nancy and looked at the photo. I thought it was Nancy Guthrie, someone else. How hard is it to put the last name? And another, you need to fire your social media manager. This was so out of touch. These are not overreactions. These are the responses of people who have been following this case for 11 weeks, who understand the significance of every public statement from the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and who had, in the space of seconds it took to read 4 words, experienced the specific physiological response of believing something that was not true. That particular combination of relief and dread. 11 weeks of accumulated uncertainty crystallized and then shattered by 4 words posted at 10:50 p.m. without a surname. Let us be precise about what this incident tells us. The Pima County Sheriff's Department did not do anything wrong by posting an update about Nancy Radakovich. She was a missing person. She was located. That is exactly the kind of information a sheriff's department should communicate. The decision to post that update was correct. The decision to post it without a surname, in the context of this investigation, with this level of public scrutiny, at this specific moment, was a failure of institutional communication that caused real distress to real people and further eroded the public trust that active investigations depend on to receive tips and cooperation. The Daily Caller described it as pouring gasoline on its own PR fire. IB Times reported that the post intensified calls for internal reform and that public trust in the department's ability to handle sensitive information was at a significant low. Multiple outlets noted that the Pima County Sheriff's Department did not, as of the time of their reporting, issue any correction or clarification regarding the post, and that erosion of trust did not begin on April the 17th. It has been building for 76 days. In the first hours after Nancy Guthrie was reported missing on February 1st, the Pima County Sheriff's Department made a decision about the crime scene that former law enforcement officials have described publicly and consistently as consequential. The crime scene at North Camino Escalante was processed and released, not held for extended forensic examination, processed and released. And then, as new evidence and new questions emerge, investigators return to the same location. Multiple times. The detective assigned to the case in the first days had not previously worked a homicide investigation. That fact was reported and has not been publicly disputed. The task force that serious kidnapping investigations require was not formally established until 33 days into the investigation. Those 33 days represent what former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer and other analysts have described as the critical window in any case, the period during which evidence is freshest, suspect movements are most recent, and the investigative momentum that makes cases solvable is at its peak. By the time the task force was established, 33 days of that window were gone. And then the Board of Supervisors. On April 7, 2026, the Pima County Board of Supervisors invoked a rare territorial-era law to compel Sheriff Chris Nanos to respond under oath to 4 specific questions about his employment history at the El Paso Police Department, where he resigned in 1982 rather than face termination after 8 suspensions in 6 years, about disciplinary actions taken against members of his department, about his cooperation with federal immigration authorities, and about his department's repeated budget overruns. The board gave him 10 business days to respond. That deadline falls on April 21st, 4 days from the recording of this investigation. A 241-0 no-confidence vote was cast by the sheriff's own deputies. That is the institutional context in which the April 17th post appeared, not casual confusion about which Nancy a post was referring to. The response of people who have watched an investigation managed under contested leadership, who have seen a crime scene released and revisited, who have watched a task force arrive 33 days late, who have listened to a board of supervisors invoke a territorial-era law to compel a sitting sheriff to testify under oath, and who had just had 11 weeks of grief crystallized and shattered by 4 words posted without a surname. Now let us turn to the development that happened on the same day. Because the social media post was not the only significant thing that happened on April 17th. And the second development deserves as much attention as the first. On April 16th, the day before the post, Brian Entin, the NewsNation correspondent who spent 43 consecutive days on the ground in Tucson, following this investigation more closely than any other journalist, reported something on X that the Pima County Sheriff's Department had not publicly disclosed in 24 days of official silence. He wrote, "Some DNA evidence from Nancy Guthrie's home has been sent to the FBI's lab for advanced analysis. I am told the evidence includes hairs found in Guthrie's home. This comes after evidence has already been tested through a Florida lab the Pima County Sheriff's Office uses. Previous DNA samples either did not get a hit in CODIS, the FBI's database for DNA from criminal offenders, or were mixed with that of another individual. Less than 1 hour after Entin posted that information, the Pima County Sheriff's Department issued a statement. Not a press conference, not a scheduled update, a reactive statement issued in direct response to a journalist's report about their own investigation. The statement read, "PCSD has worked with the FBI since the beginning of the Guthrie investigation. This is not new information. The private lab we utilize in Florida continues to share information with the FBI lab and other partner labs across the country. DNA analysis remains ongoing, and this investigation is active. This is not new information." Let us examine that phrase carefully. The FBI confirmed to ABC News that the DNA evidence was collected from Guthrie's home in February. The evidence itself is not new, but the FBI's own statement to ABC News used these specific words. 11 weeks later, that lab has now transferred an original hair sample to the FBI laboratory for testing. We remain fully committed to this investigation. 11 weeks later, an original hair sample transferred to the FBI laboratory for testing. The movement of an original hair sample from one laboratory to another for a specific analytical purpose is a development. Whether or not the underlying evidence existed since February, the fact that it had not been publicly confirmed before Brian Entin reported it on April 16th means the public was learning something they had not known before. The department's phrase, "This is not new information," is technically defensible and substantively incomplete simultaneously. And the public response reflected exactly that distinction. Now let us understand what the hair DNA development actually means scientifically, because this requires context that is essential to understanding why CeCe Moore described it the way she did. The DNA picture in this case, as publicly described by Sheriff Nanos, is a mixed profile. Genetic material from more than one person, layered together in a single sample in a way that current software cannot fully separate. Neither contributor has matched anyone in CODIS. The technology to isolate individual usable sequences from a complex mixed whole genome sample is still being developed. CeCe Moore told NewsNation that companies are rushing new mixture deconvolution software into existence specifically because of this case. That timeline has been accelerated. The technology that did not exist in deployable form in March may exist very soon. But hair is different from a surface swab. And that difference is the key to why this development matters. A human hair is a single-source object. Unlike a surface sample that may contain biological material from multiple people who touched it at different times, A hair that came from a specific person's head contains DNA from that specific person. If that hair is clean, if it has not been contaminated by contact with biological material from another source, it can produce a single source profile, not a mixed profile, a clean, isolable, individual sequence that does not require deconvolution software to analyze. The technology for extracting DNA from the hair shaft, not the root, not the follicle, but the shaft itself, has advanced significantly in recent years. For decades, forensic DNA analysis of hair required the root to be present because the root contains nuclear DNA, which produces the high discrimination profiles used in forensic identification. Hair shafts contain mitochondrial DNA, historically less discriminating. But the technology has advanced. A hair does not need a root to potentially yield forensic value in 2026 in ways it did not in 2020. That means hairs recovered from Nancy's home in February, hairs that may have been set aside or only partially analyzed because no root was present, may now be analyzable in ways they were not when they were first collected. The transfer of an original hair sample to the FBI laboratory is not a routine administrative step. It is the application of advanced analytical capability to evidence that the Florida laboratory may not have been equipped to process in this specific way. CeCe Moore said it directly when she commented on this development. She said, "I have been really hoping that maybe they did have some hair to work with because of the more recent advancements in the field. Hair absolutely can make the case solvable. Hair absolutely can make the case solvable. That is a specific professional judgment from a woman who has contributed to solving more than 300 cold cases using exactly the kind of forensic genetic genealogy this investigation is building toward. She is saying that a single clean hair, isolated, individually profiled, can enter genealogy databases like GED Match and Family Tree DNA, generate partial matches to distant relatives, build a family tree, and narrow to a name. Now consider who left hair in that house. The suspect on Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera on the morning of February 1st had a black mustache and eyebrows visible above the mask. The balaclava he wore covered his head, but his facial hair was exposed. Facial hair sheds. A man with an exposed mustache who spent 41 minutes inside Nancy's home, moving through it deliberately, holding a flashlight in his mouth, propping doors, carrying a heavy pack, shed hair in that home. That is biology. That is what human bodies do, regardless of what the person doing it intends. The question investigators are now pursuing at the FBI laboratory is whether any of the hairs recovered from that home in February came from someone other than Nancy. Whether any of those hairs, rootless or rooted, shed or pulled, can produce a single source profile using technology that has advanced specifically in the period since they were collected. Whether one hair from one person who was inside that house on the morning of February 1st, 2026, contains enough genetic information to begin the genealogy process that has solved hundreds of cases where every other forensic avenue was exhausted. CeCe Moore says it can. The FBI laboratory is now testing whether it does. Let us now look at where the full investigation stands as of this recording, because the hair development does not exist in isolation. It is one thread in a forensic architecture that is building toward convergence from multiple directions simultaneously. The mixed DNA profile from Nancy's home remains in analysis at the Florida laboratory. The mixture deconvolution software being developed on an accelerated timeline will, when it becomes deployable, allow investigators to separate the individual profiles within that mixture and begin the genealogy process from that sample independently of the hair evidence. Both tracks, the hair at the FBI laboratory and the mixture at the Florida lab, are moving in parallel. Neither one requires the other to resolve before producing results. The flashlight. CeCe Moore identified it publicly as the most likely source of the suspect's clean DNA before this hair development was confirmed. The masked figure on Nancy's doorbell camera held that flashlight in his mouth. Saliva deposits on a bite flashlight are significant in volume and hardy in preservation. If that flashlight was recovered and properly preserved, it may contain a single-source saliva profile, completely independent of both the mixed DNA analysis and the hair sample, now at the FBI laboratory. 3 potential tracks to a single-source profile. Any one of them reaching a result begins the genealogy process. The Bitcoin wallet address included in the ransom notes has been empty for 76 days. The FBI has described the blockchain evidence as one of their best leads. The blockchain record is permanent and mathematical. Every transaction ever associated with that wallet, every piece of metadata surrounding its creation, every digital footprint left by the infrastructure behind it exists in an immutable ledger that does not decay and does not expire. The FBI follows that trail through mathematics, not through witness accounts. It will eventually arrive somewhere. The digital forensics from January 11th, the date that both Sheriff Nanos and the Guthrie family have flagged publicly without fully explaining what occurred on that specific night 3 weeks before Nancy disappeared, remain part of the investigative record. Cell tower data from the night of February 1st is in that same record. The vehicle seen on surveillance at 2:36 a.m. traveling south on Camino Real toward Interstate 19. Each of these threads is active. Each of them is developing. And the April 21st deadline, 4 days away, when Sheriff Nanos must respond under oath to the Board of Supervisors, will add another layer of documented public record to an investigation that has been building one documented fact at a time since February. Now let us return to the post one final time, because the full picture of April the 17th, 2026 is not simply a communication failure followed by a forensic development. It is a specific portrait of how this investigation has been communicated to the public throughout its 76 days and why that communication pattern matters to the outcome. 24 days of official silence. A reactive statement issued in under 60 minutes when a journalist broke a story about their own investigation's evidence. A post about a different Nancy that sent the country into a collective heartbreak without a single word of clarification or correction issued afterward. That pattern is not about any single decision made on any single day. It is about the cumulative effect of a department that has been reactive where it should have been proactive, silent where it should have been clear, and insufficiently attentive to the specific weight that every communication from the Pima County Sheriff's Department now carries with the millions of people who have been watching this case for 11 weeks and who read 4 words at 10:50 p.m. and felt their hearts drop before they had finished the sentence. I literally thought this was Nancy Guthrie. The way my heart just dropped. That sentence is the plainest possible description of what institutional communication failure looks like when it lands in the middle of a case that has captured the attention and the emotion of an entire country. Not malice, not intention. A surname missing from 4 words. And the specific pain of millions of people who had, for one brief moment, believed something that was not true. 1 word. That is all it would have taken, and the word was not there. As of April 19th, 2026, here is what the public record confirms. The post went out at 10:50 p.m. on April 17th without a surname. Nancy Radakovich, 82 years old, was found safe in an unrelated case less than 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. Brian Entin reported on April 16th that hair DNA from Nancy Guthrie's home had been sent to the FBI laboratory for advanced analysis. The FBI confirmed to ABC News that an original hair sample was transferred to the FBI laboratory for testing 11 weeks after it was collected. The Pima County Sheriff's Department issued a reactive statement less than 1 hour after Entin's report. The last official statement about the investigation before that had been issued on March 24th. CeCe Moore said hair absolutely can make the case solvable. The April 21st deadline for Sheriff Nanos to respond to the Board of Supervisors under oath remains active. What is not confirmed? The specific results of any DNA analysis currently underway, whether the hair sample transferred to the FBI laboratory came from the suspect, whether any forensic thread has yet produced a name. What the evidence confirms regardless, the investigation is active. The hair is in the FBI laboratory. The forensic work is continuing. And the person responsible for what happened to Nancy Guthrie in the early hours of February 1st, 2026, has been leaving biological, digital, and financial traces across multiple evidence chains that do not expire, do not decay, and do not forget. Nancy Long Guthrie was born January 27, 1942. She raised her children in Tucson. She watched church by video call. She tended her flower pots. She had a dinner with her family on January 31st and came home at 9:50 p.m. and was taken before sunrise. And somewhere in a laboratory in Virginia, an original hair sample collected from her home 11 weeks ago is being analyzed using technology that CeCe Moore says can make this case solvable. She was not a case number. She was not 4 words on an official social media account at 10:50 p.m. She was Nancy. And she deserves the truth that every one of these forensic threads is moving toward. The FBI tip line is 1-800-CALL-FBI. The Pima County Sheriff's Department tip line is 520-351-4900. The family reward is $1 million, payable completely and fully anonymously. If you know anything, please come forward. This is Global Crime Files. Every victim deserves the truth. Every story deserves to be told.